There's a great way to use non-contiguous selection to employ a very powerful feature in Sibelius called Focus on Staves. To begin, we have to make a selection of staves vertically down the score page. For the purpose of using the Focus on Staves feature, we can select staves that are adjacent to one another or not. It's up to us. But we'll use the non-contiguous method using the modifier Command on Mac or Control on Windows to select them. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out in my score so we can see all of the staves in the score. We're going to select a single bar in any staff of our choice. I'm going to choose the trumpet staff to begin with. Then we're going to press down Command or Control and select the same bar of music but in a different staff. This can be a staff above or below the originally selected staff. It doesn't matter. I'm going to skip trombones and select the guitar. And let's do one more. I'll also select the bass guitar. Now, incidentally, if you try to make a selection on a staff within another bar, Sibelius will end up selecting that staff but in the originally selected bar for you. So if I hold down Command and try to select this bar of the drum set staff, for example, it ends up selecting this staff over here. And that's because we're selecting staves. We're not actually selecting bars when we're doing this non-contiguous vertical selection. Now, you can also toggle a staff selection off. Just simply reselect it. So if I don't want the drum set in my selection, Command-click on the drum set to remove it. Now, by itself, making a non-contiguous selection of staves doesn't really do much. But if you pair it with the Focus on Staves feature, it can be very powerful. Focus on Staves is a temporary way to view a selection of staves, rather than viewing all of the staves in your score at once or just viewing one single part at a time. To focus on staves, after you make a selection of staves like I have here, you can go to the Layout tab, then go to the Hiding Staves group, and there's a button here for Focus on Staves. You can also use the shortcut Command-Option-F on Mac or Control-Alt-F on Windows. Sibelius will hide all of the staves that are not in your selection, leaving you with a view of just those staves that are in your selection. The light blue-gray dashed lines that appear in between staves in Focus on Staves view indicate that there are hidden staves in between those that are in view. If you're not seeing these dashed lines here while you're in Focus on Staves view, then you can visit the View tab, Invisibles group, and make sure that Layout Marks is checked. If I uncheck it, those lines will go away, and if I check it, they'll come back. Now, it's actually important that you see the dashed lines in Focus on Staves view because you'll want to avoid range selections that cross the dashed lines. If you range select, meaning click and then shift-click across the dashed lines, you're actually selecting the hidden staves between them, and hidden staves can be affected by editing processes performed within this view. Now, while you're in the Focus on Staves view, you can work and edit the parts in this view just like you would if they were in the score, with the exception of making range selections across those dashed lines. So I can go in and I can edit notes. I can move some text around if I want to. I can do a bunch of different editing. We can input notes. We can delete bars and things of that nature. Another thing that you do not want to do while you're in Focus on Staves view is any sort of layout or formatting. Now remember, this is just a temporary view for editing purposes. You would never print while in Focus on Staves view. You'll always want to return to your score for the layout and formatting of the score, or go to a specific part for the layout and formatting of the part. When you're finished working in this view, if you'd like to return to the full score, you can click on the Focus on Staves button again in the ribbon under Layout, Hiding Staves, Focus on Staves, and that takes us back to the full score. Sibelius will remember your last focus, so if you want to return to the same focus that you previously had, deselect everything in your score, so Escape, and then just choose Focus on Staves again, and it will take you right back to that previous focus. Now be mindful, though, if I go back to the score here, if anything is selected, it could be just a simple note or rest within one part. If I choose Focus on Staves, it will only focus on that one part, and it erases my previous focus from memory. So you can use Focus on Staves for a variety of tasks in Sibelius, like singling out families of instruments in a large score for orchestration purposes, or for working with solely passages with a varied group of instruments in your score.